Welcome back, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Alexandra Holzer is back with us. Coming up next. Welcome, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm author and researcher Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, my co-hostess, Victoria Monday, and down in the chat room, Alina, moderating the chat. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Back with us is Alexandra Holzer. She's author, paranormal investigator, intuitive, wonderful, wonderful friend. And, people know her as the daughter of the paranormal, being the daughter of Hans Holzer, but she's a fantastic investigator and intuitive in her own right. So welcome to the show again, Alexandra. How you doing?
Thank you guys for having me back. Doing good. How are you?
Good.
Keeping busy.
Are you guys cold where you are? I'm freezing. It's like 30 degrees right now in mid-November. So
no, it was 82 today.
I'm sorry,
yeah, Victoria's in Texas, so she doesn't count. I'm in the Cleveland.
I do too.
Well,
I have 10 fingers. I can count.
Yeah, Alex is dealing with 30-degree weather. We were upper 30s, low 40s today in the Cleveland area. So
Celsius?
Yeah, it's been chilly. We had snow over the weekend.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, lucky us. Victoria, you want some snow? We'll send it your way.
I'm going to the beach to watch the eclipse, I think.
Okay, thanks.
See ya.
The beach. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I might get I have to put sunblock on. I have to start, pre-tan enhancing.
You're
Gotcha.
so cruel.
Well, yeah.
Y'all are both
rub
welcome.
that in.
Anytime. Come on down.
Well, Alex, it's been about a year since we've had you on the show, and in that time, the Holzer Files, which a lot of people really enjoyed that show, the announcement was made that that run has come to an end. And I know our viewers and a lot of people have asked those questions about what happened. And so just real quickly, we won't spend too much time on it because we want to get into kind of some more fun things rather than the business side of things. But I know people want to know what exactly happened with the Holzer Files here.
Right, and I understand. So basically, the Holzer Files was an opportunity to take my father's casework and put it into a format that at the time there was interest for. Originally, how it started was we had worked with the production company for a few years for scripted. And we got close, like everything else in this industry, but there was an opportunity where the Travel Channel was interested to this production company, what else they had on their plate. And they had this really great sizzle reel, which was meant for scripted, where I was the little girl. I was the daughter, but little, growing up in that environment, and it was scary, And so I think that's what they showed. And the fact that I have the archive of all my father's work. I'm in the field. I'm actually carrying on the work and have been publicly for over 20 years. Grew up as a little investigator, regardless of how I wanted it to be. And so it was just what was wanted at that time. And so that's how the birth of the Holzer Files came about. And of course, the work began at that point where we had to go in our basement and go through like 50 different boxes of all of his work. And then he had filing cabinets that we showed in our HQ, which is the opening of the show. Mm-hmm. And that's supposed to be kind of my basement with my father's relics around and, the tapes and things like that. So I thought it was really creative to bring that into as the element, because that was really the hook of the show, was that here was somebody that hadn't been exposed and it's been around much longer and covered a lot more territory, and for the tools of the trade back then as well, and to be so advanced with how he created protocols and so forth. So I think this is a business like everything else. I have a lot of great shows that we've watched, especially more so in the past 2 years, and gaining 100 pounds. But I digress. The point is, I understand, like, I watch scripted shows all the time, and there's a lot of bad stuff that's out there and a lot of good stuff. I'm not an unscripted show watcher too much, but people get attached to it. They like something, they go with it, and that's fine. but it just wasn't meant to be. I think we should be grateful for having 2 seasons, which is not easy to get. It is a very competitive business, and I do say business. And a lot of shows sometimes go on and people feel why, and other shows don't, and they say why. I can't, you know, what it's business. It is what it is. It doesn't mean we have to like it or agree with it, or we just have to respect the process and know that there's other things that are meant to be and other things coming down the pike that will better serve my father and the work. And I don't think it's a knock on anything. It's my right to say that and feel it because I'm living it. It is personal. It's my family's life out there. I've had my photos out there of being a baby and all sorts of things, and I was open to share with people and, you know, create little montages every week for every new episode because I didn't have any photos given or taken of me for the show, so I had to create my own montage to go along with each episode and just try to bring that validity in and that respect of we really are, you know, these truth seekers, and we're not looking to hide anything or hurt anything. We're trying to educate, and it's really what it comes down to. And I wanted that point to come across, and I think a lot of people got to learn a little bit about who Dr. Hans Holzer is, or even that I exist. You know, and that's great. And then other people that already knew. And so, you know, it was a wonderful opportunity, and I, you know, believe and know that there'll be other projects coming down the pike for him. We've just gotten started, and I've been at this for a long time behind the scenes trying to get, you know, shows out there and show the work. So it's not that easy.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult industry, and I was really happy to see, you know, Hans get recognized and your father's, you know, work come to the forefront again, because I grew up reading his books, and you know that pretty well, but you know, over the years he'd almost kind of become an afterthought. You saw these other people, you know, being highlighted in their work. It's like, well, you know, Hans was, you know, he was the man back in the day. And so for him to be forgotten about, to me, was a travesty. So I enjoyed seeing his work becoming recognized again. And I loved those old film clips and the audio clips that were featured in the show. And it was also great to see you involved as well, because you have been, you know, involved in this in so long. So for you to see you become recognized as well, I thought was great.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was really weird, you know, because you have people writing to you, and a lot of things I kept private to myself, but a lot of people were writing in and had their opinions and feelings on the show and all this stuff. And I said, you know what? It is what it is. This is part of life, and this is part of also the paranormal, because you're dealing with an outcome that you don't really have an answer to all the time. You're trying to make it fit into a little round hole with the square peg. You know, things occur for a reason, and the message gets out there however it gets out there. And so you have to bring it back down to having a good perspective about it. But my whole thing was going through all the personal stuff. I mean, I had to put in boxes with my husband reels that you can't replace. So I was having panic attacks, literally. I was like trying to track the plane to LA, like, okay, where's the boxes? Are, you know, have they landed? Like I was like a little nervous mama again, because these are things that are irreplaceable. And once the reels are run to digitize that you saw in the show, parts of what was on, you know, certain pieces, you know, it's like poof, you could run the reel and then it's done. So I had all these like anxieties over it, and then going public with my childhood in that sense. Okay, this is one of our rescue kittens that we do before. We're up to 5 cats now.
5 cats.
5.
That's Victoria too. Yeah.
I know, and this is the black and white, the tuxedo. So we have the two tuxedos now. But
can we call it the starter kit?
Starter kit.
Yeah.
Call them little cows moving around the house right now. They're like little black and white cows. Mm-hmm. But so there was just a lot of anxiety that I couldn't publicly show or share, and because I wasn't filmed as much, really couldn't show people the connection I have with my father, and I still do, and also with my mother, who was part of that, because she did the investigations for over 10 years with my father,
right,
and also painted for the first time. It was unknown for an artist to showcase haunted places in such a way. It was unheard of, really. You know, you find pictures in books and so forth, but my mother was married to the ghost hunter. She was an artist becoming renowned for her style of work, and then was showing her work in the galleries in Manhattan, and it just became this interesting duo. So it was very intimate for me and personal. And I go further back to my grandmother who married the Count of Russia, my mother's father, and how he had seances in a castle in Milano, Italy, which is where she was born before the war hit and the bomb dropped and they all escaped. So, I mean, that's in Growing Up Haunted, because it's really, this is a huge family affair. So the Holzer Files, yes, albeit it's one little nugget here, but there's like hundreds of nuggets surrounding it. And there's it's spider webs out, and that's my life, literally, and so
Yeah, it's the whole Holzer legacy, and that was one of the things when I was tagging the show. That's one of the things I was mentioned was the Holzer legacy, because it is a legacy that's gone down been passed down generation, which is fascinating. That there's a really rich history there.
Yeah, it's bizarre because sometimes, normally when you hear about somebody that's carrying on their parents' work, like a famous baseball player, or recently we're just watching a film with Clint Eastwood's son in it. And I remember reading a story about him where he didn't want anybody to know he was Clint's son because he wanted to make it on his own and this whole thing. And that's, of course, acting is a whole different bowl of wax than a reality show. But just that whole thing of he was proud to continue his father's work and wanted to be known. And I said, well, I kept my father's name because he didn't have a son. And I was going to publish my first book, and I wanted to keep it Holzer because nobody else would. And I knew at some point he would pass. So that's my reasoning for it. Otherwise, I would have kept my married name at the time. And I did actually publish under that, But I got thinking, I said, let me get my first book done. And I said, we're going to do Holzer. And that's how that came about. There's no vanity in it, stuff like that. It had to really do with that. But so I'm, just like the Ghostbusters film, Afterlife, the new film.
Yeah, looking forward to watching that.
I know, me too. So you've got the granddaughter carrying on the grandfather's work as a what? Ghostbuster.
As a Ghostbuster, yeah.
So how's it?
Yeah, I love the concept that they're getting the kids involved. I think it's a great way to take it. Yeah.
That's the thing. So when I come out, and I, and here's this show and stuff, but there's so much more to it. It's like I'm not just the daughter, and I think I might have gotten a little bit piffy online over the past couple of years because I felt like a lot of people might have missed the point of why this is happening, where this comes from, and how much more there is. And I don't live life like that. I question things. I want to know who people are. And when we watch documentaries about these legacies and families, we're always so drawn to it because you see the children take on the parents' work, and then it goes down to their children. So I want my children to have my father's work. And I want them to have my work. So that's where I'm at. I'm at the next generation. I'm second generation. They're third generation. But, you see it in movies, you see it in other shows, but when it comes to a reality show or it comes to who am I, the lines kind of blur as to the perception, I think. And so
right.
Legacy is like something that you see, like I just said with Clint Eastwood and the son. You've got Stephen King's son. Did I think Lock and Key or however you pronounce it?
Yeah, Joe Hill. Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying?
But he doesn't use the name King, yeah.
So, but they're boys, men to men. I'm the girl to the man. And that's not, kind of usual, I guess, in that sense. Or they're married and they use their married name, which, like I said, I started off writing as my former name. So, but why is that so hard to grasp or understand that I'd be out there saying, well, I understand the methods. I know how to do research, investigations. I know how to ask questions in a journalistic way. I know how not to be biased towards anything, not judgmental. I'm not an idiot. I understand fact. I understand fiction. I understand bullshit. And I don't buy any of it half the time. And so I've become very much like my father, maybe because I'm aging and I have less patience. Or maybe because I've always been
that probably comes with age. We're all up there.
Hey.
What?
None of us. Oh, protect a baby. There he goes.
Oh,
so,
they saw him.
I don't think these little Ivar. So I feel like with the Holzer legacy, we've got a lot. Now my sister is not interested, never has been. I was the one in the hallway at night with the flashlight looking for things so she could go pee in the bathroom.
Wait, is she the little sister?
No, 8 years older than me.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and I do readings for her like every week. I'm always answering questions for her and stuff. So it's like, she's not interested, but she comes to me. Do you see what I'm saying?
Go figure that.
Oh, yeah.
So
That sounds very familiar. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm like, okay, let me think. But it's something where I feel, because the paranormal, because of television programming, not so much in movies, in the scripted area, but in the unscripted area, it's really mostly men that are depicted doing the work. And it's just so unfair. It's not reality. It's not true. And I frankly, and I'm a woman, if I was born Hans's son, I think we'd be having a different conversation right now. But I wasn't. And as a mother, out of all my children, 4 are girls. So I need to set an example for them. And even though Grandpa Hans is Grandpa Hans, which they all know, this is Mommy Holzer. And this is what she does, and this is how she thinks, and this is what she questions, and this is how she works. You see where I'm saying?
You're absolutely right, because I was talking to some friends last week, and they asked me the same question: why are women not represented properly in the paranormal field? And I think it's because we don't fit that stereotype, or a lot of us don't fit that stereotype that's out there right now. And we were talking before, the women in the tight jeans and the stilettos and the leather jackets who are going to, take a K2 and kick somebody's ass. Most of us are not like that,
Well, no, we can be. That's not true, because especially as moms, now there are wonderful women that don't have children but are just as much as a warrior.
Right. Yeah. And I think, we're all intuitive and empathic, and
absolutely,
we can do that. But
it's what it is. It's, if we needed to put on those boots and kick some, but we've done it for our children.
Oh, yeah.
When there's issues in school, we've done it when a kid bullied them, or when they don't feel good and we have to fight for them because the doctor's an idiot and we don't agree with this or that, whatever. The point is, it's ingrained in us. That's why we have the children, and men don't.
Right. But I was saying the reason we're not representative in the shows or television or whatever is because we don't look like Twiggy or whatever,
Listen, it's not like you're going to run out in front of a camera with a ripped t-shirt and jeans. If you do, okay, I guess that's the culture. But it shouldn't matter what you look like, what you sound like, how you are. If you have no qualms about it and you want to show people why you're doing the work, what you're trying to show for it, meaning are you trying to repeat what other people know? Mm-hmm. Are you trying to educate? What level are we working at here, and who are we working with? That's representative of the whole unit, because there's no I in team. So when there's a show, it's a huge production.
Exactly.
And there's many people involved that make it happen. But, women in the paranormal, and I always made this joke going back 15 years, it's like if you're a psychic, you have to be female and you have to be like 1,000 pounds with the third eyeball here. I don't understand that. So
yeah, it's that strange stereotype. Yeah. And I don't understand that either. Because there are a variety of people from all different walks of life with all different abilities. It's a very colorful palette, for lack of a better term, I guess. I mean,
where's the diversity?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the #MeToo movement? Because I certainly missed that hashtag, and it went right on by, because I'm still like, what? Look, and I have, like, I teach the girls. I have, out of the 4 girls, because one's only 4 and a half. But out of my older 3 daughters, 2 have already joined me on Hunt with Holzer events that we created, my husband and I, to preserve and teach and have something unique to us and not go to everybody else's events. And that's fine. I choose to do my own. I choose to helm that process, because it has to come from the Holzer, and it has to be unique. It can't be blended and molded. And, I don't play that game. So it's not as big or popular, but it's true, it's real, and you know what you're going to get with that, And so they've come out, and I'm showing them, here's what Mommy's doing, and they've seen me on TV before, but it's different. This is in person. You can't fake anything. You can't lie. There's nothing written for you to repeat. You need to be real and genuine and be intelligent about it, and that's what I'm trying to show them and teach them.
That's fantastic. I think this is a great segue also into, we talked a little bit about it before the show, but the Holzer method. I know it was mentioned a little bit on Holzer Files, was never really explained. I know that you've mentioned the Holzer method on the show here on Edge of the Rabbit Hole, but what exactly is that? What is the Holzer method?
Okay, so that was not used in the show. The method is that we sit down and we do what we call sitting sessions. And the sitting sessions are where we have each player that has representative of a role while we're calling to spirit, if you will. And the Holzer method is bridging the gap between academia and the science of it, which is your PhD, your parapsychologist, to a medium and or psychic, and they all have different levels of abilities. Call it what you will, a sensitive, okay? And you bridge the two together to yield as much data as to the occurrence that's happening in the environment. And that became the Holzer method. And because it came from a PhD, it was kind of poo-pooed upon because my father was very unorthodox doing this method and was kind of looked down upon from some of his colleagues, which were very snooty and looked down their nose because if they're an academic, there's no such thing as ghosts. But if you're into metaphysics and being a sensitive and so forth, well, everything is like woo-woo to them, and that's not true either. So it's the combination of the two, and you work with a trans medium. There are many of them still around. It is a dangerous practice to some degree, no different than crossing the street hoping that you don't get hit by a New York City taxi driver. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. What are the odds? But there is something to be said about allowing yourself to let a spirit enter you. And that's the total trust thing. So you have to have people that you can work with that have your back. My father protected his trans mediums. He was also doing experiments when working with them to get his data because, and I know that sounds a little sordid, but in order to know if this is a way to communicate with the other side and use your body as a vessel, he's got to try it out with many different types, which is why you saw him working with so many different types of mediums, trans mediums. Yeah, there were psychics and this and that, but his main focus was you yourself are a tool. You're made of energy. Yeah. You have frequencies. So when we emanate these frequencies, imagine how much more we can open up to our mind's eye. Now, and it goes to using a Ouija board. All the answers are there already. So you're already being guided to spell out these words that you physically aren't pushing. A lot of people know what I'm talking about. This isn't like a joke. They're already there putting the information into your mind because the frequency is there for them to connect. That's how they communicate. So that's what the Holzer method is. And it's not being done. It's not being shown because you can't prove if there's going to be results or not. You have to film hours upon hours, session upon session. It's not a quick thing. But you can get the general idea of how it works by doing a sitting session. And you do have to spend more time. So I always thought of, you could always do a program where you spend 2 episodes on one location because you give the trans medium the time to recuperate from allowing their body to be taken over. It's a whole thing. But people, I think possession is going to occur or something like that. So you have to know what you're doing. You have to be with the right people. You need your parapsychologist. You need a researcher, historian, you need a photographer, you need the filmmaker, you need all this set up, and so everything's covered, and with the combination yields all that data. It's not one-sided. In other words, he tried to break apart this paranormal phenomena, if you will, and not make it so one-sided. It's either to the left or to the right.
So you're bringing in a lot of other different expertise into it, and yeah, if you're using a trans medium, I don't recall any trans mediumship being done during the show. Just the clips that were provided by you.
No, and it was with the same psychic, which is fine. Like I said, that was for them. They wanted to do it this way. That's fine. It's not for me to say anything at this point. But that's not how he worked. He worked with many different types of mediumship abilities, and some, were men. One of which I still talk to and was a mentor to me is Philip Solomon in the UK in Wolverhampton. I've got Marissa Anderson who's here in New York with me. Yeah. So
we've had Marissa on the show before. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's kind of like I really have taken up that course of action the way he did it, because I'm intermingling with those people that actually worked with my father that can attest to and vow privately to me the stories and the happenings when he was with them. And I get a visual of how it all went down. And so the Holzer method is a really intense way to run an experiment-based investigation as to finding out and sorting out who or what is haunting this environment and what are we dealing with, if that is what we're dealing with. It could be another form of life. Don't get me started on that.
Victoria, I've had a lot of questions so far, so I'll go ahead and toss it to you real quick.
Okay, well, I did have a question. You had mentioned your daughters. and you're teaching them, what do you think about, or do your daughters even use phone apps and those kind of gimmicks? And do you, because I really respect the Holzer method, and that is the way. I don't like the gimmicks and the toys, and I mean, a light up cat ball, that's fun. But,
Yeah.
and eventually, a digital recorder, maybe you'll catch something. That's fun. But
yeah.
the phone apps, I don't know. No.
Well, listen, I was curious about one of the phone apps, which was the Ovilus, and I was doing an event at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, and I had the Ovilus on my phone, and it actually produced very interesting results. But later on, as I got down the road, I realized in life, well, that's just all connected to energy anyway. No different than touching a planchet on a board, it moving. It's all connected. So if on my app, the phone's on my hand is the transmitter. Words are coming out to connect. So I was about 50% okay on it. No, they have, of course, on our phones they come with apps, but they don't do any of that kind of stuff. They're not on social media. Although Snapchat, that's the one thing.
Cat videos, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, can we copy that? It was like a cute kitty thing. And I was like, Mom, they don't last. And I'm like, well, what's the point? Like I said,
Nothing lasts.
No, well, we're trying to make it last.
Yes.
But, no, they're not, they're really very savvy. We've been raising them to be very aware, think outside the box, question everything, don't trust anything or anybody, don't give anybody an in to disrespect you. It's all part of it, and this is the paranormal is all part of it. Is how you live your life. It depends on where you're going to end up.
So do you think this is something they're going to continue as they grow older, or will boys enter the picture and then they're gone or something? That's the way it works around here.
Well,
when something new comes in, like, okay, you're gone, bye.
No, they are wonderful children. They're very close to us, and we're teaching them that they're going to have to be on their own at some point. Obviously not in this environment.
Right.
But that was the goal prior. So everything's been delayed and held back, and everybody's here. The only one that would be leaving is the 22-year-old, and she had to leave her job with the madness, and she's going to try to get back into it because it's medical, but it depends. You have to work in order to have an apartment to live, yada, yada, yada. And she has a wonderful boyfriend that she's been with for a long time, and we love him. And so we don't know. I said, we don't want you living alone, especially being a woman.
Right.
I'd rather you be with him, and he's great. So, I think they'll be okay. Maybe at some point next year. But the other ones, I've got two at vet tech school here. And my son is now in 10th grade. He's homeschooling and getting better grades than in public school.
Awesome.
And, yep. And our almost 5-year-old is still being very difficult with potty training and everything else. So I'm always on my hands and knees with their pull-ups back down, and she makes me nuts. So that's where we're at. And then more rescue animals, because why the hell not?
Right.
Let's just throw on some more shit. Why don't we?
Yeah, they just show up on Victoria's doorstep. She'll open the door and they're right there. Yeah.
That's why I have to go through the garage now. Just kidding.
Oh my God.
Well, we've had so many. There's some really cruel. I love Texas. Don't get me wrong, but there's some really cruel people here, and they throw away kittens. I mean, literally. And so when I hear that, we're there. We've got it. And so we would try and find a home for a cat, and people are like, "I already have one." I'm like, well, screw that. We have 4. Come on.
Listen, it's like having kids. Once you have one and you have 2, why don't you just have 5 or 6 like I did?
It's like the house is never going to get clean, but I'm okay with it.
Once you have to get over it. Once you start it, you open up that Pandora's box, boy. It's coming. The moment that don't come
I think once you get to 2, it's I mean, I remember buying 3 different sizes of diapers all at the same time. So it's
free range.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's like and it just kind of melts together, and you're just like, whatever.
There's never a perfect time to have a child or a pet, Mike. And
no, it's just part of the adventure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm talking about pets.
I had Catherine, and by the way, she's named after my mother, who was named after Catherine the Great.
Oh, nice.
Trying to continue on Catherine the Great's legacy from my mother to the last bloodline, and I had her at 45.
Nice.
So, I'm like walking in there and I'm telling the doctor, I said, so like, do women die at my age for like being pregnant? She's like, no, but I'll tell you, you're healthier than a lot of younger ones that I've seen recently. So, well, that makes me feel good. It's the
good.
aftermath of having her that everything's changed for me.
But you're probably more laid back, and you're like, well, that just happened, right? So.
Oh yeah, no, she runs around naked. She takes off her she calls them pee-ups. And she throws them, kicks them down the stairs, and one of the kids is like, Mom, I just got hit by your pee-up. And I'm like, and she's running around giggling because she's naked and thinks it's the funniest thing. Meanwhile, my husband and I are so tired. It's 10 o'clock at night. We're like, no, quiet time. We're done. No.
But in a way, this could be good because I don't want to say you're exhausted. That's not good. But you're in a different mental state. And so
I am. Listen,
paranormal activity can flow easier,
Yeah, no, we have an experiment that's been in our room. It's a metal ice bucket. And it's going on now almost 8 years. It was actually something that I had gotten for my husband and I because we used to travel. We did the work together with Holzer stuff and events, and we always loved filling up the ice bucket at the hotel.
Oh, nice.
It was like, one of those stupid things. So listen, I went through a divorce of, being married for 19 years, having the 4 children. It was, that's half your life. Mm-hmm. And so we were finding little things that, because I met my soulmate, and we were little things you start over again, like, oh, it reminds me, that whole thing, like you're 20. So, so it was in the bathroom one evening. My husband's in the bathroom, and we had put it in there for some time because we just didn't know where else to put it. We were rearranging the room, mm-hmm. and all of a sudden I hear him, and he's from Alabama, right? So he's like, God damn it! And I heard, just before he said it, I heard, ping! And I said, what's going on? And he's like, I'm in the toilet. This is going on. And I'm like, what is going on? So it's so funny because this is real life. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And we moved the bucket and we started these experiments where we started talking out and reconnecting. And I, because I kept dreaming of my father and he was talking to me in my dreams. We have arguments sometimes and trying to work this out of everything. And the bucket started to ping at different tones, different times of the day. Sometimes it would ping at the same time on a different day. So we started charting it. And I did a talcum powder test on it on the top. So it's got the lid mm-hmm. and the bucket. And we put the talcum powder around just to see if there was any movement of energy that would create that ping. I don't know how, how they're doing it because physically. And so it's a thing of energy. And then, so we kept, it was like about 2 weeks, we didn't have any pings. And then we heard a ping. So I ran to the chart and I wrote down the date, the time, and the tone of the ping, because they are different. And we have different family members that are in this house that stay with us at times. My father being one of them. My husband's grandfather was a military man. So his ping is bing. My father is ping. So, it's so funny. So 2 weeks go by, it pings. And we forgot we did the talcum powder, and then it pinged 2 days after, and I said, oh shit, the talcum powder. So we went to look, and wouldn't you know it, it was moved off the top of the cover, and this is up high on our bookcase in our room, so it's out of any reach. And the cats don't climb the bookcases. They're very domesticated, lazy New York cats. And so we just looked, and it moved, because we took photos of it, and we had a little film clip of it, and you can literally see something change the molecular spectrum of what was sprinkled around it. And there's just other stories, like my wine glass moving across the shelf because I was leaning over to get it. And it literally, and my husband heard it. So he's gaming. He's here. I'm here. Like, this is our room. The glass is on the bookcase that you've seen in the show in season 1 when we did the Skypes. It wraps around our whole room, and it's like daddy, daddy, daddy. And all his collection.
I kept checking out the books on the shelf.
It's insane. We inherited like about 500-600 books because he collected predecessors before, and then we have the original parapsychology handbooks that are falling apart. I mean, this stuff is just amazing.
Wow.
So, and I went to lean over, and I saw the image of my father, and I knew what was going to happen. And it's like the glass went like shh, shh. So my husband heard it. He turns to me. I'm staring at what just happened, and I sit back and I said, I've never experienced that before. I've never experienced that before. And I could hear my father in my head saying, don't drink too much, Alex. You have to get up in the morning. And I'm like, what is happening here? Which is ESP. So we started researching up more ESP training, and of course that's what my father was directing us to do for years now. And so we do these experiments at home. These things happen to us. It's not all the time, it's not a haunted house. It's just their energy is here, and when they need to come through, this is what they're doing. And I was just floored, because you've got.
It sounds like your father was still parenting a little bit there.
Let me tell you, I was mad. I yelled at him that night because they ping at like 3 a.m, 5 a.m, 12:30, 2 p.m. It's like all these different pings, and we're up with a newborn at the time, and ping, ping, and I'm like, yes, thank you, grandfathers, thank you for being so happy there's a baby. Shh, go find something else to do. Unreal.
Interesting.
Right. So we have some questions from the chat room. I do want to ask these for our viewers this evening. So we'll get to a couple of these as Alex is drinking some wine.
Wait, you have wine?
Whiskey.
Yeah. It's whiskey?
It's whiskey. With
Diet
root beer.
Coke.
No,
Ooh.
it's root beer and whiskey.
Root beer and whiskey. Okay, great. I have my coffee. I'm gonna drink my wine afterward.
Oh, it's a coffee. I love it.
Yeah. So Mary Haygood asks, what is your favorite part of what you do, Alex?
Well, what is it that I do? That's what I'm trying to figure out. The favorite part, I think, of what I do is helping people, even when I don't feel to.
Mm-hmm.
I get emails at times where I'm like, I don't want to answer this person. It offers nothing to me, and then I'm reminded of service to self or service to others. I don't want to be that first part, and so I take the time after it's chaotic. I'm online. People don't really, I'm talking, but I've got 10 things going on. My favorite thing is to help people and animals and children, and to teach, educate, and somehow it always intertwines with the paranormal in some form or fashion, and I can't escape it. And so I'm trying to put it to work and use by helping people, and people just want to be heard. They watch these shows, they see you even for a blip, and they get excited. And people have to understand, not everybody's life works out a certain way, or it might be something that they've always wanted to do, but it's not in their path to do it in that lifetime, but they have an appreciation for it. All they're asking for is your attention and your time, not you're too busy because you're on TV, or not because you are who you are. I think if more people in the field that are representing this stuff through TV and film would be, well, not so much film because it's, but whatever in the shows, would be a little bit more, less picky as to who they answer or talk to. And I know the bigger they get, the more people, right, I get that. But have somebody maybe go through them and answer what they would know you would say, at least give them something, and I just do it. And I just feel like it's important to answer people's questions. And if they're not nice to you or whatever, I say, well, that's fine. God's, don't bother me again. I'm over it, but normally that's what I'm faced with is trying to, how can I help them? How can I make them understand, that these things are okay. There's nothing to be afraid of, and that things are scary at times. And there's a lot of bad stuff that happens in this world,
and you're not alone.
No, and everybody has, people always have an experience to share to one degree, and I've got people like, well, I want a paranormal experience and I've never had one. And I said, that's okay. I said, it's not going to make or break you. I said, and frankly, what is the paranormal? I said, you're not really alone. I said, if you start with that first step and recognize that you're never really alone, which is creepy when you take a shower.
That's true.
Maybe not the best advice. I don't know. But I try.
But if it's energy, I mean, even something paranormal could be something as simple as a butterfly going by. If you're like asking a question, say, Dad, help me or something, and a butterfly or a dragonfly or something goes by.
You've got signs, you've got animal totems, which I'm always like looking up, which I forgot. My daughter's had a little praying mantis in her room today, and I said I needed to look that up because it was in her room, connected to her. It's a baby. I want to know what that is. That's how it's like nuts. I'm like cuckoo bird over here. But you gotta communicate with people and not think that you're so above them because of this. I think it's great if people start to learn who we are, if we're meant to be out there publicly. Then I think we have a civic duty to be representative of what it is that we're trying to say, not sell.
Correct.
So.
Yeah. Agreed. From TFT Tarot for Today, what's next for you, Alex? Any other TV projects? And usually you can't really talk about too much of that if you do have something on tap, but...
Okay. Yeah, this is like a question that always makes me so like, I want to say things, but I can't. No,
But
you know,
yeah.
my stuff is going to take a bit longer because it's developing. It's in developing mode. So I'm in development hell, as they say. But there are projects for 2022. My father is going to be back, and I believe in a better way, in a proper way.
Great.
And then I'm trying to go at it again as a female paranormalist, if you will, to get back out there and try again for the work. And then, of course, we have a book coming out. Mike, take it away.
That's right. Yeah, through Haunted Road Media, Alexandra is going to be publishing. This is actually a fiction book through us. So this isn't going to be like your autobiography, which you already have, but she does that. But I picked that one up years ago, growing up haunted. But yeah, this is a little bit different. I'll throw it back at you if you want to talk a little bit about it.
You know what, sticker? Okay. Okay.
Well, this is your show. I'm just asking the questions.
That's right. You better mind your place there, mister.
Is it
There we go.
paranormal romance?
That's right.
Is
That's
it?
right. Well, I don't know. They have their bromance. What do women have? What do we even call it?
Womance?
That's
Girls' night out. Girls' night out.
Survey says, no. For those that don't know, that was the Family Feud.
Oh,
Yes.
Day. Okay, so what's exciting about this book is, so one of our daughters, she's the second youngest out of 6. Danielle is a highly, highly intelligent being. She's like my husband. The rest of us are kind of like working on it. But she's one of those that gets it and can do anything if she just becomes easy mathematically, the whole thing. So anyway, she also won all these awards for school. She went to a special art and design program and learned Photoshop, which has changed since we used Photoshop because I was a designer, graphic designer for a long time. And so I said, here's the deal, because her portfolio is great and it's growing and changing. She does commission artwork already. I said, could you do this for mommy? That requires you to actually read the book because, you know, they don't want to read anymore, these kids.
Right.
So she actually sat and read the book, and it's a YA novel, you know, so, but you can be older and read it too, because it's not meant to just, you know, but it is age specific from a point up.
Right.
And she designed the cover according to what she read, and we talked about the story and the characters and why I wrote it and where it came from, and she was inspired, and that's what she came up with, which people will have to wait and see. But I'm very proud that she's able to do that because my mother did it for my father, for his years, many of them.
Yeah, and I love that it's a family project, really, and
It's the legacy.
to me that touches my heart just knowing that.
Yeah. So yeah, but we can't say anything else about it because then
We can't.
there's not much to say.
But next spring.
I was going to say when.
Good. Spring's going to be a lot of stuff, a lot of projects. Hopefully, will be moving or able to be announced at that point. I can't say anything to any of it, even the ones that I'm actually more in control of. Does that make sense? But that's the nature, like I said in the beginning of your program, it's the nature of the beast. I would rather, you know, just do what I'm supposed to do, and then hopefully we get it out there and people will love it and understand it and want more of it, you know, and I'd be very proud for that and humbled. So, but yes, things are happening. It's just, for me, it's going to take a little bit longer, probably. Who knows?
You know, there's a workaround.
Ah!
Start your own streaming service. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? I thought about it. I have nowhere to go in my house to do anything. I'd be stuck back in the basement and it's Holzer Files all over again, except that was a nicer basement versus mine, which is like a real basement with like wall-to-wall filing cabinets of my father and his ghost stuck in there, I'm sure, rattling about. Alex, pick this one!
Well,
so,
you have that amazing red wall behind you with all the fantastic masks. That could be your backdrop.
meh, I don't know. No. I would want want to do something a little different for people because it's kind of what I've been using. I'd like to actually take a lot of the prints of my father and the posters of his book signings and the Amityville stuff and put that around and have some of his effects, because he was, he collected antiques and stuff. He would haggle at the flea market, and so this is 6 cents for Persian. How much do you want for this? $10. Nonsense. $5.
I love it when you do the accent.
So I would want it eclectic, the way I grew up, which is kind of like this stuff all over the house, and nothing ever matched really. So I don't know. I need a place to go. When my daughter's ready, then I'll have an office back. I can kind of create it, but and I know people are doing that online. I just have too many distractions in my home. I can't, and I'm not doing it in that basement. I'm not. No.
All right, so we'll have to wait on that one.
I'll film a clip at some point before the end of the year. I'll do a walk around and I'll show you guys, and I'll post it with the filing cabinets and stuff, and I'll show you exactly what I had to sift through for a lot of that work.
Oh boy, yeah, that'd be fantastic actually to see.
I was gonna say that sounds really fun. I mean,
fun for you.
Well, yeah.
I think it was a lot of work.
Well, yeah, you can make work fun, so I've heard.
There's a rumor.
We're talking pre-digital everything, so.
Yeah, I was telling Mike how I used to edit. You get the old guillotine block out and the tape, and that's how I used to edit.
You remember Whiteout?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm talking like it's banned or something. I don't know, but like Whiteout, and then we had the
correction ribbon on the typewriter.
Yes. Oh, my father. Oh, my God. He would lean over, and I'd come in, and he'd have like 10 bottles of Whiteout, and he'd be typing away. He goes, shit! I'm like, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, Daddy, what's wrong? He's like, nothing, 1 minute.
Well, then you have to blow on it.
Yeah, then you got to blow on it.
Yeah. And then the cat's sitting under the desk lamp because it's hot and warm and knocks over the white out. And he's like, Scheiße! Oh, my God. Lost it. And I said, I think I'll be going to bed now. That's it. I'm God almighty, over one bad word he wrote. I don't know, but.
Yeah.
Well, everything old is turning new again, so,
That works.
It's coming back.
It's coming back.
Yeah. So Jason Thompson is wondering about any paranormal events like the Hunts with Holzer or anything like that going on this year or this coming year, I guess, 2022.
Yeah, I think I'm done. I did 2 Hunt with Holzer events this year, and then I did a meetup as well earlier of this year. I know the events. I've actually, when I started out going more public and I had published my first book, Lady Ambrosia, which was a sci-fi book, I started kind of moving around the circuit, and I actually shared at the time the same manager as Jay and Grant with Ghost Hunters, and so I was running that circuit with them. And then I did, Dave found out who I was, and so I started, I did one for him as well, and then I did TapsCon. It was like, I've done it, and to be honest with you, I want to do them again when I have something fresh to present to people, rather than just sit there and, unless people really want to meet me, I understand if that's the case, but I want to give them something, and maybe we'll be able to have something to show. And then we have the book coming out, and I think at that point I'll be able to go out to some of these events again. I also am a New Yorker. I like to stay off an airplane if at possible. So for me to go to any, it's going to have to matter to me to leave my family, because unless there's a lot of people that want me there, I'll do it. But I'm not just going to go and see how it goes, because there's a certain structure to how some of these events go and who they want there. So I'm not sure if I can fit that mold, which goes back to our point of formats and how these things are. So I don't know,
You'll take the right situation.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do them. I've done the Stanley. I've done them. I've done West Virginia State Penitentiary. I've done them, but
let's say hypothetically, like late next year, maybe in the fall, early fall, there was a Haunted Road Media Paracon.
Oh, where is that? Is that in Ohio?
I have not set anything up for a Haunted Road Media Paracon. I haven't done one in a couple years.
Why don't we do it in New York? We should come to New York. Oh, because I'm here. Yay. No.
There we go. Haunted Road Media Paracon. Well, I'll tell you, Alex, if we could work together on something like that, because I would love to do an event with you. We've, over all these years, because we've known each other, I think over 10 years now, we've never actually met. You know that?
And nobody, I don't think people realize that. I think people just assume.
No.
But no, there's a lot of great places up here that are always doing these events anyway. And it's not, you could throw a stone and find like a haunted B&B mansion, whatever, and then we have Pine Bush, which is like the UFO capital. And Pine Bush, a 15-minute ride from our house. So we could
great.
go into that whole thing too. But yeah, I would help co-organize for you.
Okay. Well, let's talk offline and see what we might be able to come up with.
Okay.
So, and then Victoria, yes, she's pointing. Me too. Yeah.
My idea. No.
Yeah.
No. I always offer to help, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm busy.
You do.
No, well, I think everybody. Listen, a lot of people do their events now, and it's a way to earn. Number one, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a way to sell your products and get it out there, and for people to actually meet you in person, which I think is the most important thing. And I think next year, all this is just it's gonna be different, and I think we'll have more opportunities to be creative. If you want my honest opinion. So.
I agree. Yeah, the world is starting to open up a bit more. So yeah, definitely a way to get out in front of everybody. Which and that's what I really like, is actually being able to see people interact, get to know some people, have those interesting conversations.
Yeah.
So
can you do like
Fungi had a
Paracon?
What's that, Victoria?
Do a Paracon cat rescue thing.
Well,
there you go.
I take them all home, and then I wouldn't live in.
Yeah.
I live in the shed.
Well, we had the one a couple years ago where Amelia Cotter brought her snakes.
Okay, I'm done. No, that's like
snakes. No, huh?
No, that's what Sybil Leek did to my mother when they were traveling. I don't know if it was in the late 60s or early 70s, but my mother was with my father, and they were going out to Ireland, and they were staying at whatever place that they were at. And of course, my mother didn't realize it at the time. I got a little ditzy in that moment, that Sybil had her pet snake, like literally had a name and everything for this thing, which is adorable, don't get me wrong, from afar, arm's length, in a cage behind a glass door. And you know my baby. And so she went into the bathroom to use the bathroom like a normal person would, and there in the tub.
Oh, geez.
Oh.
I scared you. I'm sorry. Right. So my mother was like, what? And, my father's like, yeah, so she has pet snake. What's problem? What do you mean, what's problem? Your wife is about to have heart failure. She was young then, too. So, yeah. Nope.
No snakes. Okay. Duly noted.
I agree with you. Nope.
Question here from Fungi, and I love her name. Fungi.
Fun girl. Okay.
Did Hans ever try to contact the family from beyond?
Yeah. You're looking at her. My sister had, but I understand. No, I do, because a lot of people don't know I exist, and that's fine. I appreciate this opportunity now, and that they have. I've really covered a lot of this, mostly on Twitter, because it's easier just to put it out in spurts like that. But my father came back to me 3 days after he actually passed. So mind you, I'm processing losing him. I had just I had my fourth child. It's like all this stuff. It's life. And he showed me his feet, and on his feet were dancing shoes. Now, my father was an avid ballroom dancer, and in Manhattan, which is where he met my mother at the Kit Kat Club, would go to these live band events. Of course, they were divorced at that point, and then he had, with his girlfriend. She was a beautiful German woman. I love her, and she was very good with my father for a while, and they would do this, and he would complain because they stopped playing, as he said, they don't play live bands anymore. What's wrong with these idiots? Oh, there's music now. Oh my God. So he was a dancer. He was a mover and a shaker, and had lots of energy. He would fly around the apartment, which is where I get it from. And you'd have to have all these children and everything else.
You do. Yeah.
So that's when it began for me. And it progressed from there, where 6 months after his passing, I had a group in Florida want to do a ghost box session with me. And of course, at the time, I was very much against it because my father didn't understand them yet and wouldn't be, what is that? But so I was trying to think, how would my father perceive this opportunity? So I said, yeah, all right, sure. So they said, okay. So this happened to me. I would connect with paranormal people all the time, and nothing to do with my father. He had just passed. Nobody was, some people sent condolences. I had interviews with the New York Times about it, the whole thing. Yeah, okay, whatever. But it wasn't connecting, I wasn't contacting him in public, that's for sure. And so we did this session, and I'm on the phone and I'm listening to it and I'm learning about all this, and nobody asked for him, but I'm of course thinking about him because I just lost him. And so, I'm processing this, and a voice comes through and it says, Hans here. And it was Austrian. And that's how that began. And I have the recorded MP3. Oh, wow. And there's a transcript with it, and like how he did it. And that's how that began, where I started to question this electronic phenomena, EVPs. Okay, well, what is that? What's the ghost box? And then I started breaking it down, and it hasn't been, I think in the past, I'd say 6 to 7 years, I've really dissected it to a point of where I'm really understanding why it happens, how it happens, and that it's actually quite natural. Really understand physics and logic and quantum, it's kind of like, yeah. So he's constantly here. There'll be days where I don't feel him, I don't have the dreams, the bucket's quiet, and then there's other times where it's active, he's active, and then I'll have a dream. And one of the first dreams I remember after his feet was we were in a room, and it could have been a hotel room, and he was wearing a raincoat with a fedora hat, yet it was summer because I saw there was a window with a view, and it was an ocean and a mountain, and the water was tranquil and beautiful, but we were up high, and it wasn't my apartment. So I didn't know where we were, and it was like we were in this really nice room, and he was talking to me, and I was listening, and I kept remembering, I was yelling out, Daddy, I miss you, I love you, I want you back. I don't understand. Oh. Where are you? Where are you? And that's been the ongoing battle with me until the past probably 3 years, where I'm much deeper into the evolution of where Hans is and what happened. And so it's constant. And I think until the work gets done and until he sees his daughter get the respect that he feels that she deserves, because I'm going to say it, it's the damn bloody truth. I think I'm perceived a certain way or not understood or misunderstood, and that's fine. But I'd like the opportunity to still give to the people and to animals, and the paranormal is a huge part of this, and mediumship. And yeah, I know stuff, and I just have a different, I think, mannerism about it, and I don't get all caught up in glitz and glamour and the obvious, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. So I know he needs me to continue the work because he shows it to me constantly, and the people I'm going to work with that don't appear for like years. And that's this recent stint with the Holzer Files. I saw images of these people, and I didn't know who they were for years. So, yes, I do. He does contact the family.
Yeah. Thank you for all that. No, that's that's just amazing. The connection that you still have with him.
It's hard.
From beyond. Yeah. Because you miss him.
I miss him, and I want him to come here to tell certain people to shut the hell up and get their facts straight and be a little bit more intelligent about their ways of how they go about their day to day. But you can't change certain people. They're just going to go out that way, and maybe they'll come back differently.
Right. Well, one of the fascinating things about your father was that he was an academic. He was like really the first academic that got involved with this field. And I think that kind of blew people's minds away at that time. And even today, I guess you see more in the ufology community. You see academics getting involved, but you don't see and I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but I don't think you see that as much on the paranormal side.
Well, in the United States. In the States, the paranormal is looked at much more differently. The programming is differently. If you go over to, let's say, the UK or France or Germany and so forth, they just have a different view on how a medium is and the different levels and layers to what they add, but never the two shall entwine. And that's what made my father so unorthodox, like it was such a bad thing that, ooh, he came up with an idea of, why don't we combine it all? Because really, what are we trying to do here? Right?
Right.
It's not, like I said, it's not left or right. There's a whole gray area, and so he created a protocol that was unheard of, because either you're a man of science, or you're a man of faith, or you're a man of religion, and you don't bring religion into this, because now you're dealing with heaven and hell, the devil, the angel, the God, the whole thing. And it gets so convoluted. So we need to break it down and start simplicity when it comes to the paranormal, and understand the many facets of the field itself. And it's called cyclical research. I think people need to just learn the right stuff and not get on the train of what's popular and all the sketchy stuff, because it has nothing to do with the field whatsoever. And that's okay. There's a market for that too. I'm just not interested in that.
Yeah,
Right.
when I first started my master's, I'm getting a master's in psychology, and they said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, oh, I would love to be a parapsychologist. And my counselor actually laughed at me and said, what?
What
And
is
after, yeah, and she goes, we don't do that. But after I took my first class, my teacher privately would message me, and she goes, I think it's a wonderful idea. You can only take a class or two, but you can go over to Europe, and you can. I'm like, well, okay,
Right,
that's not happening, but thank you.
Right. Yeah, let me just get on that right now there, Teach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just see
Whatever.
ya.
Hopping on a plane right now. We're going. Yep.
Be there in 6 hours, no problem.
Yeah, I'm leaving some kibble for the kitties. But
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. But the
No.
fact that she actually, she did it on the DL, sent a personal private message saying, we don't do that here.
Right. Well, and that's fine. You got a response back, which is more than a lot of people would be willing to do. But it's a lot. Listen, I'm not a parapsychologist because I chose to have children and first before a career. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, I always wrote, I always published, I always did art. I went to art school. I did very well. I did graphic designing. I had my own graphic design business. Yada, yada, yada. I became a wife and a mother. And to me, family comes first.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm intertwining it as they're getting older. And yes, little Catherine stopped all that for me for a while. But you know what? Next year is next year. And I'm not a wilting flower over here. I'm not dying. At least I hope not.
No.
So there's a lot of, there's a lot of.
You're with us for a long time yet.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Some wine and hair dye and therapy. It's all good.
Well, we're at the end of our hour, unfortunately.
Aww.
But Alex, again, thank you so much for joining us. We always enjoy you being on the show, chatting with us for a while. You're always so colorful, and I love getting your perspective. So.
Thank you. Well, it's what I have to offer. I don't want to be like everybody else, and I don't care if I'm not popular, because if I lived my life that way, what would I be teaching my children? That's what matters. How many likes you have, how many dopamine hits you need, how many retweets. I really don't care. I just want to get the message out there in the work, and however it comes, it comes. If it's in an entertainment way, okay, meaning the industry, that's fine. I can reach the masses that way. You need a voice in this world, and sometimes you have to punch a hole through it and be unorthodox like my father before me. I really don't give a rat's ass.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're popular with us.
So. Well, that's good. Thank you.
And after you start your streaming channel, just imagine.
Listen, woman, I don't know.
There she goes.
Streaming me ours.
I'll help.
You can set it up, and I'll tell you. Good. Yeah. No. Great. Okay. Good. Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
No,
I see our logo already. It's going to have some tuxedo cats in it.
And the other cats will be angry because you didn't represent them. That's not diversity, and that's quite racist. Thank you very much.
Well, the other cats are asleep, so
Oh,
well, that's I guess you snooze, you lose.
That's right. Loser
That's
cats.
right. There you go.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I love you both. Thank you.
It was good to
Thank
talk
you
to
so much
again.
again, Alex. Everybody check her out, alexandraholzer.com. And, of course, you can follow her on all the different social media platforms. So, Alex, thanks again so much.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you again soon.
Yes, sir.
Night.
Bye.
Bye, Vicki.
Bye.
All right, Alexandra Holzer. Love
She's
her. Yeah,
wonderful.
she is. She really is. And it seems like I've known her forever. It's probably been something like 10 years. I maybe 12. I don't know. I couldn't fathom a guess. Somewhere around there. And yeah, I've never met her, but she's just like family. So.
Well, all time exists concurrently, so you have known her forever.
So I have known her for forever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, not to get off topic, but I saw something in a paranormal romance, and they used to say, your past love has come back and he's reincarnated. Now they're calling it a different time. So now they're starting to embrace the future parallel, all time exists. So
Right. Yeah. I've seen some of those. Well, we have one. Marla Brooks has a like time travel paranormal romance with us. So yeah, Soul Connection. Which came out a couple years ago.
It's starting to become more prevalent. So
Yeah. No, the idea is really taking hold, and it's interesting. The more and more people that I talk to in this field, more people are jumping on board with that idea and that theory of all time is actually concurrent. So
yeah, it's taken me a while to wrap my head around it. The first time I heard you say it, I was like, okay, Mike, but now I'm starting to agree, and I'm not 100% on board, but I'm like 74. So
okay.
That was more. Who knows what next year will bring?
Who knows what next year will bring? And if Alex and I can get an event together or something like that, we'll let everybody know. But she is publishing a book with us next spring through Haunted Road Media. It's one of the few books that I'll be publishing next year because I have a lot of other things on my plate. So only a couple of books, and that is going to be one of them. So, all right. Let's get to the shout-outs, everybody. All right, let's see who is in the participant tab. We've got, of course, we have to thank our chat moderator, Alina, for moderating the chat. Aaron Bush is in the house. Great to see you down there, Aaron, as well as Magical Gal. Thank you for joining us tonight. Mary Haygood, thank you once again. Nick Moulet is in the house. Great to see you, Nick. As always, Oberon Osiris, thanks for joining us tonight. Pungai Fungi. My favorite user handle to say. It's just so fun. Robert Hanna, thanks for joining us once again. And there is Stacy Comiskey. Thank you as well. TFT Tarot for today. As always, Thayer and the Haglin. Thank you guys very, very much. So, and I know that wasn't everybody. I'm going to have to scroll back through because whatever with that participants tab. So I know Haunted Road Media's Fairy Queen, Diane Hilbert, was in the house. As well as, let me scroll up here. I know Adam Tillery's down there lurking while also watching Curse of Oak Island.
I see his eyes.
Did he throw them down there?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's, let me come back over here, and there he is, Adam Tillery lurking. All right, Jennifer Bloomer is in the house. Great to see you, Jennifer. And I'll scroll up here a little bit. Jason Thompson, thank you for your questions, Jason. And who else? I guess that is, maybe going to be it for now. Kim Bullock was in the house. Mike Archer, there's Mike. I thought I saw him. And EEQQ joined us tonight. And several others. I'll scroll back down. So, all right, everybody. Who do we have on tap for next week? I need to check the schedule here. Gosh, the schedule's kind of changed up a little bit at the very end. Brian Candle's with us next week, November 23rd. After that, November 30th, Johnny Zaffis. December 7th is Richard Estep, and December 14th is the one that has changed. Joe Diamond had a conflict that came up with that date, so he's been pushed off to January. And Darcy Weir, who just came out with the documentary on the Men in Black, which I'm in, will be taking his spot on December 14th.
It was very
good.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. So we have 4 more this year, and that's it for 2021.
What?
4 more shows in 2021 is done for Edge of the Rabbit Hole.
Oh, no.
And then we'll have 3 weeks off, and we'll come back January. I think it's the 11th. Let me check real
Joe?
quick.
Is it with Joe or?
With Joe, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll come back January 11th with Joe.
So does that give me 3 weeks to buy more books before?
Gives you 3 weeks to buy more books.
Before he looks on the bookshelf again? No.
Yeah, you have to switch those up. Kind of trick him a little bit there. So.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Yeah. Everybody, and Connecting the Universe interactive class tomorrow night, Wednesday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Join us through Connected Universe Portal, connecteduniverseportal.com. Let me toss the link up here for you guys. There we are. Join the Keepers of Connected Universe at connecteduniverseportal.com. So the Shadow Entities class is finally going to be going up here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, cool.
Yay. So that one's been a long time coming. When you guys watch it, and I made a comment on it in the recent Mike's Morning Mug video that went up there. It went up there yesterday. I haven't actually posted on it yet to let everybody know, but it's up there. And I made the comment. This video was, or the course. The videos for it was recorded so long ago that the bookcase wasn't moved back there yet, and also I didn't have the new book cover out yet for the second edition. It's still the first edition. So.
It's OG. No, is that right? Original game.
Yeah.
Is that what that is? OG. It's an OG cover.
Yeah, it's the original. So it's been a long time coming for all of that content. It's just been a busy year. So
yeah.
I for doing all the traveling that I did and trying to keep up with all my regular stuff plus all the books that I've published this year, which is why I'm cutting back on the number of books I'm publishing next year, because it was, and I really haven't made this public announcement yet. I know, Victoria, you and I talked a little bit about it the other day, but it's just to me it's almost like a disservice to those particular writers, because it's like I'm trying to rush to get things out the door, because it's like I promised to have it out there and I'm rushing to get it out, and it's like that's not good quality to do that. So I'm just taking a couple so I can make sure it's a quality work. And
it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. People don't realize what all goes into it. It's not just copying and pasting and from their document into a template and just out it goes. No, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So
you do a
okay,
wonderful
everybody.
job.
Yeah.
No, seriously, you've done a wonderful job.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So we will see, hopefully, many of you tomorrow night at the Connected Universe Portal. And then, of course, next week, right back here on Edge of the Rabbit Hole. So, Victoria, have a great night.
You too. See you tomorrow.
We will see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Have a good night.